Well, should we start with a little joke this morning? Doug, just close your ears. No. Okay, so the minister's assistant gets a phone call, and this South Texas boy, old boy, says, I want to speak to the head hog at the trough. And she said, I beg your pardon? He said, I want to speak to the head hog at the trough. She said, sir, first of all, our senior minister is not in. Second of all, we never, ever would call him the head hog at the trough. So he said, okay. He said, I'm really sorry about that. He said, I saw you had a building campaign going on, and I wanted to donate $50,000. So she said, hold on just a moment. The head hog is walking in right now. It's amazing what we do, huh? So I'll start with a little story. This is an ancient story, a Hindu story, really. But it's so profound when I think about it. It's about a beggar that sits at the front of the gates going into the city of Rome. And he's sitting on this old beat-up chest, but it's locked. And he's in shattered clothes. He just holds out his little tin cup or cup, whatever it is, just waiting for a coin. And he's done this for years and years, just sits there. Sad person. So finally somebody stopped and said, what's in your chest? And he said, I don't know. He said, all I know is it keeps me off the ground, I get to sit on it. And he said, well, I think it's time now that we open the chest, see what's in it, make sure it's not going to collapse next time you sit on it. Well, they opened the chest, and it was filled with gold. And I thought, that's your story and my story so often, isn't it? We're out there begging for something from a universe, or from, no, not the universe, but from the world, begging for something. But all the time inside of us is that gold chest that holds all of our prosperity and abundance and grace and joy and all the things God is, because if our first two principles are correct here in unity, there is only the one life of God ever moving, and it is my life and it is your life, period, paragraph. And we can say, oh, how can that be? Well, it simply is. Take my word for it. No, you know, sometimes we get confused with metaphysics and new thought, totally, or metaphysics and new age, totally different things. New age is crystals and all kinds of things. Metaphysics goes back into the time of Plato and Socrates. So often we call new thought ancient wisdom, because that's what it is. So the topic today is the universe a friendly place? Einstein once said it is the most important decision we will ever make in our life, and it will determine our life. Is the universe a friendly place? Now, we can say, how can you say that with everything going on? It's not the world. We're talking about people, places, and things with the world. And what we know is we each have free will. So the world is going to do what the world does. But the universe, God's universe, is so magnificent. This magnificent universe. And we often exchange the term God with universe, because the universe is truly, according to Dr. Holmes and many people, many philosophers, the universe is the body of God in action. Have you ever looked at the stars at night? The beauty that's around us. The sun always rising on time and the moon and setting. It's a divine order taking place always. If gravity was just a little bit less or a little bit more, there'd be chaos. But there is a divine order taking place in the universe. And that order, that divinity, is within you and it's within me. Give me a second here. Eric Butterworth said, creation is not something God ordained. It is what God is. So, beginning of September, what a beautiful month. As we walk around and we look, 3 weeks ago I was at my daughter's and there's a lot of trees out there. The trees had already begun to lose their leaves, on time and in time, all the time. And yet we question, You know, I have a friend, and she will, if she has a problem, she will go to different people. I don't care if it's 30 people, God calling, who's ever, you know, we are divinely inspired right here. Anyway, life knows, the universe knows when the trees, the leaves come down, the flowers. We live in a magnificent universe. Oh, my friend, she will call 20 people because she's got a problem. And she is going to look for the person that gives her the right answer that she wants. So this could go on all of her days, right? Looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for answers in all the wrong places, right? And yet within us, we have this power and presence that is so magnificent and so mighty that all things are possible. This presence, this universal presence, is the field of all potential and all possibilities. So we are here today always to uplift that thinking. We talk about it here. We can look from the bottom, from the ground floor of something, and what we see is world and a small, very small picture. When we go upstairs, we see a horizon, a vista that is so magnificent. Years ago, when I graduated from ministerial school, Reverend Doug is thinking, oh no, here goes the stories. But so just bear with me, Reverend Doug. Some friends invited me to their home in Maui, and it was right on the ocean, except I was kind of the last guest invited. So they had me in a bedroom downstairs that faced the mountains. So it was dark in that room. It really was a dark room. But when I got up and walked around the corner, there was the ocean, this vista that was so magnificent, that was there all the time. I was just in a dark room. Now maybe we can associate that with ourselves. There are times, and I know depression, trust me, I've been there, that we can become depressed. We can become discouraged. But right around the corner, if we can take it upstairs and know that whatever is going on in my life, God is more and God is right there. Whether you call God the universe, spirit, it's all the same thing. But there is a power and presence in our life that when we turn the corner of that darkened space, oh my God, look at the world, look at this, look at that. That's the world. We're above that. We're going to keep a consciousness of a high watch, where where Jesus, where Buddha, where the Fillmores live and move at a higher realm. We keep that consciousness. We see the peace, and that is the promise. The peace of God that passes all human understanding can be our peace right here and right now, right? And oftentimes, I don't know about you, and I may go into it later, but it's always interesting when I'm giving a talk. I've told you something happens the day or the week before, and it says, okay, prove me now. I dare you to get up and talk. Well, anyway, that no matter what upsets us or what hurts us, and I think every one of us have been hurt, we've all been hurt very deeply at times, but it's not because of a punishing God. We've got a God that is love and joy and beauty and peace. And when we can get out of the world effects and out of, oh, poor me, and go upstairs and say, this is a universe of divine order, so whatever is taking place is for my highest good. And sometimes I think if one more person says to me, it is not happening to you, it is happening for you, I think I'm going to throw up. And that's the truth, isn't it? I don't want to hear it. I want right now to be in my own pity party. But really, whatever happens for you or to you is happening at some level. How can I justify that at the death of a loved one? I don't know. Or the son that promises to come home and never does. I don't know. But I do know that there's something within us that will lift us above. A friend of mine, a client actually, she escaped from North Korea, and she has had a horrific life. It is just, she's a physician, but she has gone through so much. And she said, if I could just find happiness again. I said, happiness is one thing. Happiness isn't the world. Happiness is your new car. Happiness is whatever you want in the physical realm. I said, but that joy is within you. She said, Reverend Barbara, how can you say that? Because joy is an innate quality God is joy. God is the joy of my life. And within that joy, nothing can take that away. Because it is the joy that says, yes, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I am with you always. And if we get in touch with that, it has to be joy because we're not alone. And so often, don't we walk through life thinking, I'm alone. We are never alone. We are always taken care of by this divine universe. We can say yes to it. I'm not interested. I want to just be in my pity party right now. Think of every bad thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I had somebody come into the Y. I was volunteering one time, and he worked out like crazy. I mean, we just were. And he was a young man. I said, well, how do you do that for so long? He said, because I think of every bad thing that has ever happened to me. And he said, I get so angry, I just work out like crazy. And I thought, oh my goodness gracious. I said, have you ever thought of thinking of every good thing that, he said, no, never occurred to me. So, we have that choice. Do we live in what has happened and all this stuff and all the worldly stuff? Fear, false evidence appearing real, right? So we get to live there, we get to listen to the news, and we know these newscasters are making 6-7 figures a year, and they're only giving the message that their boss is telling them to give, so they're slanted one way or the other. And then we get all involved in what other people are saying. We go above that. God is more. This is God's universe. And if people are opened and available, peace will reign. But it's the idea of people, places, and things. We want to rise above that. Yes, we live in the human realm, but I think it was Valerie or maybe Bristol that read, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So what is one of the things we can do? We can start to trust. We trust, St. Paul said in Ephesians, he said, if God be for me, who could be against me? Isn't that the truth? If God be for me, who could be against me? In the darkest shadow of our night, God is there if we're willing to turn to God. In the light of day, when it's everything is going good, aren't those the times we forget to say thank you? Our life is just going so smoothly. But in the dark times, the light times, whatever's happening, if we are continually, what we praise increases. So we praise this universe. We give thanks to a God, a spirit, this universal presence that is so good, and it has created you and it has created me. There are no mistakes in this universe. Each one of us have been called by divine appointment here. And I'm not making this up. We can throw Einstein, Fillmore. It was who had Neil deGrasse Tyson, who said, we are all made of stardust. I mean, he's an astrophysicist. He's one of the most brilliant men who runs the Hayden Planetarium in New York. But we are all made of stardust. Think of that. And yet we underestimate ourselves. We are holy. The ground we stand on is holy ground. So we trust the process. I don't know how it's going to end. I wish it did. I just have to trust the process because I know I have been called, you have been called from all eternity to be here now. And we made this agreement. Don't ever kid yourself. So we are spiritual beings here on earth to proclaim the glory of God, not to run around like what in Shirley MacLaine yelling down, I am God. That does not work really well. That doesn't set with a lot of people. But what we know is if we're here by divine assignment, we are here to make a difference in this world. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt, or maybe it was Charlotte Bronte, that said, if we make a difference in one person's world, one person's life, our life has been successful. And think of all the people that you have said something to, that you have blessed them. I've blessed everybody now. I don't care if they like it or they don't like it, or they're blessed. I never have to leave anybody without now saying God bless you. Because the word God itself is a high vibration. If it's Buddha, but for these holy people, it brings up a high vibration. So think of yourself, trust that you have a divine assignment and that you have the universe working for you always. It wants you to succeed. If we don't succeed in our job and we just decide to stay in this world of pity party and effects, how can we proclaim the glory of God through our actions, through our kindness, through our love, through our anchoring peace, through seeing the best in other people? I have a client whose son teaches in absolutely the worst part of LA. And she worries about it. Of course, we pray about it, but she still worries as a mom, driving in and out because, you know, they have to make sure there are not guns going in. But what he is there for, and what he just got a promotion for, he teaches advanced calculus or there's whatever those advanced classes are. But the principal called him in, and he said, you are changing these children's lives, or these young people's lives, seniors in high school. And he said, well, I'm here to teach, and he's a marvelous teacher. He said, they come out of your class. He said, they know calculus, but he said, they have a different idea of themselves. He said, you are seeing in them potential. You are seeing in them high possibilities. And that's what we are here for, to see beyond the effect, to see beyond the mullet haircut, to see beyond my bouffant that I rated Aquanet for half of my life. But we see beyond that. We are called, if we can really get in our mind that we are called here. This is a special calling from the universe that needs us now. And I've said this so many times, but I say it to myself. When I walked into Agape, I had no idea what Reverend Michael was saying at all. I just knew I had to come back. And that song was, God needs me to light its light. It never occurred to me that God could need me. I needed God, for sure. Oh, God, please. God needs us. How does God express in this lifetime if it's not for you and for me? So each one of us, no matter what the underlying whatever in your life is going on, raise your vibration. I am here by a divine appointment. That is the truth. I stand on holy ground, and that is the truth. So we up-level our thinking about ourselves because we are special human beings. We are the life of God in action. So trust in your life that all is well. Trust that the blessings already are. You know, the story of the man that, you know, these are all metaphors, so it goes to heaven and all of the doors, he's walking, St. Peter showing around the different doors, and one door is locked, and the man said, please, what's in there? And St. Peter said, you cannot go in. He said, but I want to go in. And he said, you can't. And he begged and he begged, and he said, if you go in, he said, you are going to find yourself in a deep depression. He said, well, I've got to go in. So they opened the door, and there are shelves and shelves of these magnificently wrapped gifts, one after another, thousands of them in this huge room. And each one is alphabetized, each section. And he goes to his section, and it's just filled with these magnificent gifts. And he said to St. Peter, why are they on the shelf? Why didn't I receive them? St. Peter said, you never asked. So we ask for the blessings because they are ours by divine birthright. Ask for the blessings. Ask for what we need. And then praise. Thank you, God. Thank you, life itself, for all that I have. You know, Alexis Rice, some of you know her. She sent me the other day a clip. I think I may send it to some of you, by C.C. Winans on holy everything, a holy ground, holy life. And that's what it is. And it's not just the word holy. Holy means whole, that we're spiritually, mentally, physically whole. You know, we live in a holy universe. So Jesus asked and said, Jesus said, it is the Father within that doeth the work. And that is our third principle, believing that there's something inside of us that is so much more, so much greater. And when we anchor, we start coming out with things. Who said that? And the person says, you changed my life. Well, I didn't even know what I said. You probably don't know what you said. But there's something when we are anchored in prayer and meditation, and we ask God to take over. We ask this universal presence that knows all things to take over. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, when we commune with Spirit and ask for new ideas, they always come. You know, ideas are all, and when an idea comes to us and we don't take it, someone else goes ahead and invents that thing or writes that story. But the ideas, when they come, we ask for ideas. And then what is the answer when it comes? Oh, no, too much for me. But thank you anyway. We say yes. We talk about that. It is the eternal yes. So Emerson said, trust that the universe, listen to this, trust that the universe conspires for our good. Isn't that beautiful? That the whole universe is behind us, saying, come, you are more than you could ever imagine. You are my beloved child. You are representing me on earth as only you can do it through your uniqueness. Trust that it is a friendly universe, because it is, and not to confuse the universe with the world. Charles Fillmore, again, co-founder of Unity, said, fundamental spiritual substance of the world is divine mind. And that divine mind is in you and it's in me. And when we access that, that's why Unity stresses prayer and meditation. Anchor yourself every morning. I am here for God. Show me what I'm to do today. Speak through me. Live through me. Be grateful through me to others. Let me be a living blessing. And the next step is believe. Dare to believe in miracles. Oh, well, miracles, Reverend Barbara, they're just airy-fairy. Oh, no, they're not. Every one of us could tell of a miracle that's happened in our life. Every one of us, and probably many. Maybe it's our children or our fur babies or whatever it is, miracles in our lives. So we pay attention. You know, there's a story about a seeker. A young man saves all of his money. He goes to India because he wants to study with a certain guru that he has heard marvelous things about. So on the first day, meditation all day long. The second day, he finds out that this guru doesn't talk, doesn't say a word. But what he does is he writes on a chalkboard, attention. And the young man is thinking, is that it? I paid all this money? So he said, well, I know the next day will be different. So he goes the next day, and it says, attention, attention. And he said, I'm going to ask for a refund. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. So the third day he goes, and he said, Master, he said, I've traveled thousands and thousands. I've saved all of my money to hear your wisdom. Please talk to me. And the guru turns around to this chalkboard, and he says, attention, attention, and attention. So we pay attention to the blessings. We pay attention to the miracles. Believe that in the midst of a broken heart, God is. For Isaiah said, he heals the brokenhearted, and he binds their wounds. And that is the truth. So great is our God. Believe always that this universe is conspiring for your good. Because if we do not know that it is conspiring for our good, then we lose our purpose. And we have such a magnificent purpose. I don't know how many people are here. Probably 150 people are here today, right? So that was a joke. However, that's also planting a seed for the 150 people that are coming. Thank you, Carla. I like that. So we pay attention because miracles are all around. Attention, attention. Jesus said, pray believing that ye shall receive. Believing, that's how we affirm with our prayer. It is an affirmative prayer, not begging or beseeching, but we absolutely know the truth. God is there. God is around me, within me, everywhere present. So we pray believing that this will happen. Now, I started to tell a story. Some of you have heard my story about my son, who I had seen him in 7 years, and he came over in June with the promise that he would come back. And then he called me on my birthday. I'll never miss another birthday. Well, he or my daughter and I have never, ever heard one other word from him. We're blocked, can't get anywhere. So my prayer has been affirming, because I won't know my grandchildren anymore, my two granddaughters. And they live right in the area. They're best friends. I live over near SMU, their best friends are there. And this has really tugged at my heart. What if I run into them and I don't know them anymore? And it makes me so sad so often. So I've been praying about this, affirming that something's going to show up, that I will be able to see at least a picture of these girls, so I know what they look like. You know, there's a big difference between 7 and 14. So anyway, my oldest son Trey is in Italy right now, and he posts on Instagram a lot. So he was posting some pictures of him drinking a champagne cocktail, I'm certain. He's 24. So I was going through, I was hearting all of it. And all of a sudden, this thing came up. And it said, friends for you to consider. Well, there was my youngest granddaughter. It said Mia White, 888 or whatever. I had never seen that before. And I'm on Instagram all the time. And I thought, she's probably blocked it because the mother's blocked me from everything. And I went into her Instagram account, and there were 10 pictures of her taken in June when she was in Mexico. And there was a picture of her sister. And I was so grateful, because now if I run into those girls, I will know who they are. So answered prayer, but I never gave up. I never gave up. I knew that something was going to manifest, that I would know those girls. And of course, then it made me terribly sad at first. I thought, oh. So my next affirmation is that I will run into those girls, and it will be a joyous reunion. I have to believe that, because all things work together for good for those who love God. So another thing, okay, synchronicities. We have synchronicities, and oh, well, it's a coincidence. There are no coincidences in this world. And if we're paying attention, we know this. No coincidences. This church just amazes me. You all have been meditating every Sunday and through the week. There was a search team going on. The whole church was meditating for the right minister. All right, so here's this minister, lots of experience, being offered jobs down in Southern California, Newport, Laguna area, which is magnificent, all over. And where does he end up? He ends up with us, right here. And he came with Troy, who's just doing marvelous work. So Ernest Holmes once said, if there's a person on the other side of the world that is needed for your church or for yourself, the universe will make sure they were there. And the universe was certain, look, I get the chill, that Reverend Doug and Troy were here. How blessed we are. How blessed we are. So then I know I'm going to repeat it again, the story of my daughter who moved from Florida. She had been here 2 days. She had not unpacked. It was July, and she was exhausted because she did all the driving herself. And her brother said to her, go take a cold plunge. She said, I'm not doing that, Dan. That's crazy. He said, I'm telling you, go take a cold plunge. It'll refresh you. So she looked up online to see where a cold plunge place was. It was not far from the house. She walked in, and there was a man there. His name was Tommy Baker. And it turned out he knew her brothers. They went to the same grade school, high school, middle school. They lived 4 blocks away from each other and had never met. And they're getting married in December. Now, I say that because the urge within us to follow that yellow brick road, to look at Hansel and Gretel and all of the crumbs that were thrown for us to follow. And that's what happens with us. We get an urge to do something, and how many times have I said no? Oh no, that just won't work. I've closed a lot of doors. But when that urge comes, when that urge says, take a different path, take the different path. driveway. Have you ever ignored that with traffic, and then you end up sitting in traffic for the next 4 hours? So, and then I will tell you just one other thing about my son Dan. About after he graduated from college, he was looking for a job, and he loved finance. He always knew he was going to be a broker, a stockbroker. And so I was working for a man who was very connected with E.F. Hutton. And what he didn't tell me is they had one job opened for their training program. But he was trying to assuage me, and he said, oh, well, maybe they'll take Dan too. Well, Dan's always on, or comes early. He just does. He was there a half hour early. They were so happy to see him. They brought him in, and we're glad to see you, blah, 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 blah. Signed the contract. We know your father. And Dan's thinking, I wonder how they knew my father. Anyway, they thought he was the other person. He signed the contract. He has been in the brokerage field for 30 years. But that's how the universe works. Now, and they ended up hiring the other young man too. But if something is for you, it is rearranged. These atoms are so magnificent. When it's something we need, the universe will arrange for it to happen. I guarantee you, I know it. So that's why we pray, we meditate. We are open to the goodness that God is, which is this universe, the body of God, always working for us and never against us. Chopra, years ago, and then I'm finishing, Reverend Doug. Years ago, Chopra, I think it was his second book, and he was trying to find his publisher for her, or his editor, and he couldn't find her. He was calling, and she said, well, he's in New York. So he went to New York, because he was based in LA. Couldn't find, oh, they said, no, he's not, he's already gone to London. So he went to London, and he was looking all over, and he was invited to a cocktail party, and he went, and the man behind him started talking, man or woman. Anyway, he turned around, and there was the publisher, right there. You know, when things are supposed to happen, doesn't matter if they're in the remotest part of Ethiopia or the most, or Alaska, wherever, if it's meant for your good, and we are anchored in this knowing that we have a God that is so big and so vast, it will come to us. So I guess today, if you leave with something, I hope, you'll renew your trust. Trust in the universe. It will not let you down. And then believe. Believe with all of your heart. Believe in miracles. Believe that God is good, that God is in the midst of you, and that the universe, it conspires for your good. And if nothing else, take with you today, you are safe, you are loved, and you belong to a vast and friendly universe. You are the beloved of God. Thank you.